Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Med School Diaries. Clinical year is now upon us, and I'm starting on 3 weeks of surgical subspecialties. My daily routine has consisted of waking up anytime between 5:30 and 7, heading over to the hospital, changing into my surgery scrubs, and observing or scrubbing in on surgeries or procedures until the afternoon. The subspecialty weeks are pass-fail, and part of the reason why I chose this schedule was so I would get a better sense of the hospital before the stakes got a little higher. In general, each MCY or major clinical year group of students has around 15 members, and for these subspecialty weeks, we're split into groups of 5 or so. So each one of us starts off with a specific subspecialty, and I started off with urology.
What are you doing a video right now?
This is a video.
Okay guys, it's day 2, and it's going really well.
Allie and I were in surgery this morning together.
Yeah. It was very cool. We got to see a robot at work while we sat comfortably.
Allie put in a Foley.
I put in my first Foley.
Oh, you did? It was pretty unsuccessful.
No, it was great.
Absolutely.
Growth
It's that growth mindset right there, yeah.
It will only go up from here.
Not so
I'm
smart.
OR ready.
Yeah.
On urology, we saw a lot of cystoscopy cases, which involves putting a little flexible scope up the urethra to visualize the urinary tract. Before my week in urology, I had never put anything up anyone's urethra, except for I had put a Foley into a mannequin's urethra, which doesn't really count. And then by the end of the week, it was just like, okay, this is what we do. It was a really great week, and the attendings and residents were really nice. And one of the attendings, this was like my first or second day on the service. He asked me about my hometown, what sports I did. Another attending, there was an emergency case, and he actually asked if I wanted to come along, and I was like, wow, thank you so much for thinking of me. And so I went, and that was my first actual OR experience, was a urology surgery, or procedure more so. But the resident thought it was funny that that was my first surgical experience. Next up was ortho. Here's our locker room. It extends all the way down there. There's some benches that you can lay down on, or technically I think they're used to for you to change your shoes, but sometimes I like to just take a horizontal supine break on these and just lie down. And they also have these changing rooms over here. But the only thing that they don't have is a bathroom inside, but the nearest one is just a few doors down. So I'm going to be changing into my OR scrubs. And I usually just put the scrubs over what I'm wearing because they tend to run large, so it fits over everything. And the main reason is that it saves you a lot of time. And I also bring a little notebook with me in case I have to take notes, and make sure you have a pen too.
Yeah.
I'm heading over to the Children's Hospital to see a few pediatric cases, and it's really nice that the Peds Hospital, the Children's Hospital, is connected internally with the building in which the student, the med student lockers are. And so we can kind of just go internally instead of having to go outside and inside again. And you can always tell it's the Children's Hospital because of the beautiful art on the walls and the floors. And while I'm headed over, I wanted to share a couple of the most important things I've learned regarding the ORs. So usually when you walk into an OR, there will be a lot of people, and it's a good idea to know who those people are. You have your attending, you have your resident, you have your scrub nurse, who is the nurse dressed in the blue sterile gowns, in charge of handing the tools and bringing the tools back. You also have your circulating nurse, who is not scrubbed in, because they are the ones who, if someone needs something, they'll go outside of the room to bring it, and they'll get things set up, and they're not sterile, so they can do those things. You'll also have some techs and vendors depending on the type of surgery. So for ortho, we had some vendors with the parts that are used for hip and knee replacements. And then you'll also have some med students, including yourself. And so when you walk in, sometimes it can feel awkward to interrupt the flow of things to introduce yourself, but I find that it's helpful to introduce yourself, your name and your role, and then ask where is a good place for you to stand or if there's anything that you can help out with. Another point I wanted to add was to wear comfortable shoes. In the OR, you're going to be standing for hours on end, and it's really helpful to wear some shoes with a nice cushion or some surgery clogs. It'll really save your feet and your back. Lastly, I know I mentioned the sterility in the OR. Make sure to be careful and be aware of anything that's blue. And not only that, because I feel like everyone emphasizes like stay away from the blue tarps and the blue gowns if you're not scrubbed in and you're not sterile, but you should also be aware of the clear coverings, because sometimes machines are covered with clear covering. That means that those coverings are sterile too, like if it's an x-ray machine or some sort of like laparoscopic surgery machine. So also be aware of that, because that was a mistake that I made one day in the OR and I felt really bad. But the nurse was very nice, and she told me that if that's the worst thing, if like touching the tarp that can be replaced is the worst thing that happens in a surgery, then it's a good day and it's a good surgery. It's always very nice to have supportive people in the OR with you. And as I'm editing this, it's been about 2 months into clinical year. And while I am still getting a feel for the landscape of the hospital, I do feel much more confident than I did in my first few weeks. At the start of clinical year, you're faced with a steep learning curve because you're entering into a new environment, the hospital, where you'll be taking care of patients, where you'll be learning. You'll make some rookie mistakes, you'll get constructive feedback, you'll get lost trying to go where you're trying to go. But as time passes and as you gain more experience, you start to feel more comfortable. Some of that just comes with the experience, but also a large part of it comes from developing a growth mindset and trying not to overthink the little things and just trying to develop a happier and healthier mindset in general. That's why I'm so excited to be partnering with BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video, to help support you in developing a happier and healthier mindset. BetterHelp is an online service with an extensive network of over 30,000 therapists who have the flexibility of holding therapy sessions over the phone, via video chat, and also via messaging at a time that works best for you. By partnering with me today, they're giving you 10% off your first month of therapy at betterhelp.com/Caroline Chen. To get started, you simply fill out a questionnaire about your needs and your preferences, and in most cases, you'll be matched with a therapist in 48 hours or less. If this sounds like something that might benefit your mental health, then click the link in the description below to learn more and get started with BetterHelp at betterhelp.com/Caroline Chen. Now on to neurosurgery. I absolutely loved my neurosurgery week. The residents and the attendings were really welcoming, and they let us scrub in, and they were happy to teach us how to scrub in and also like teach us about the surgery and walking us through the steps and exactly what's happening. On day 1 of neurosurgery, our resident came and asked us what we were interested in, and then a few days later, he actually remembered what we all said. And I thought that was so sweet because they have so much going on and so much on their minds, and that means a lot. So right now we're kind of like learning all the different teaching styles and work styles, and right now is kind of when we're forming our future professional identity so that when we're residents, we can be awesome mentors to our med students and sort of like pay it forward in that sense.
All right, you guys, today is the first day of neurosurgery, and I'm running up the stairs. We're gonna be meeting together as a group in front of the neurosurgery ORs. Not only are we going to be seeing cool surgeries, we'll likely be doing it together. Because for this one, we're sort of traveling as a pack. Maybe not like everyone in the same OR, but I think generally you'll be with 1 or 2 other med students, so it'll be really fun. Here's the student arm. No one's in here right now, but it's really nice, this like space, because sometimes at lunchtime you'll see people here in different years of med school. You'll see your friends from your year who are on different services, kind of just like sitting here, eating here, studying here. And right through there is the alumni auditorium, which is where we put on theater shows, musicals, and orchestra concerts.
You also might be wondering what we do outside of the ORs. On surgical subspecialties, we are not in charge of following specific patients. We basically are given the freedom to go see as many cool surgeries as we want, and then go home and study or do research or watch a movie or do whatever we want to do. But for other blocks, you are in charge of following patients. And so for that, you might have to do a little bit more work, chart reviewing, admitting patients, following your patients, pre-rounding, and things like that, in addition to studying. It's actually the weekend after I finished my neurology rotation that I'm filming this. So I did the 3 weeks of surgical subspecialties and then a month of neurology, which culminates in an OSCE or standardized patient encounter, some written notes, and then also the shelf exam. So this is a weekend between neurology and psychiatry, which I start tomorrow. And so it's a lighter weekend. I'm glad to be able to be filming something and editing my videos. And I'm planning to share my neurology experience in a different video. But before I end off today's video, I wanted to share something that I was talking with one of my friends who was on internal medicine. I basically asked him, how much more medicine do you feel like you know at this point? And this was like maybe 2 weeks in. And he said, I don't know how much more medicine I know, but I do know exponentially more about patient care. And I was just like, wow, that's a really good way to think about it, because yes, gaining the medical knowledge and learning the facts, that's important, but the gem of clinical year is being able to take care of patients. And instead of only focusing on learning the diseases and conditions inside and out, which is very helpful for the exams, it's more so important to learn about your patients and know your patients inside and out, because at the end of the day, it is about patient care. So I just wanted to leave you all with that. And I do plan on sharing my neurology rotation experience, hopefully sometime soon. I'm actually not sure when I will get to that, but stay tuned. Please like and subscribe, and also comment where you guys are watching this from. I'm always curious to know. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm excited for what is in store next. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye!